Hello. Today I will be featuring another lower tier guide, this time featuring the König, the tier 5 German battleship. Now this German battleship is actually quite special for multiple reasons. Most importantly, the fact that it has an unprecedented German sigma value of 2.0. Now sigma is, well, the simple way of saying is that the higher sigma you have, the better the ship accuracy is. But sigma isn't the sole defining thing for how accurate your ship is, but it does determine how much reduced vertical spread you have. It doesn't affect your horizontal spread at all, but a basic rule of thumb is the higher sigma values a ship have, the better accuracy it usually has. Higher sigma equals better, basically. Now, first of all, the König is the only tier 5 battleship that has a sigma of 2.0, and it's the only German battleship, what did I say, the only German battleship at tier 5? No, I said the only tier 5 battleship that has a 2.0 sigma, but it's also the only German battleship, except for the Scharnhorst, that has a sigma of 2.0. Tirpitz, Friedrich der Große, Große Kurfürst, Bismarck, Gneisenau, Bayern, all of these, they have sigmas of 1.8. Congo, New York, 1.8. But the König, 2.0. Now this means, of course, that this ship is, well, it doesn't automatically mean, but in combination with the already tight spread that this ship has, this reduced vertical dispersion means that this ship is exceptionally accurate for a battleship, which means you can pull off pretty ridiculous things with it, as you can see here. Things you might not expect a battleship to be able to pull off. And this makes it, combined with the fact that it's fairly mobile, and also the fact that it has 10 guns, this makes it exceptionally punishing against, well, cruisers. Also strong against other battleships, against DDs. Overall, this is a pretty goddamn good battleship in every single way. In fact, with the upgraded hull, it also has fairly good anti-air for a tier 5 ship, so it doesn't really have any weaknesses at tier 5. It's probably one of the better tier 5 ships in the entire game. Look at this, Furtaka. He's giving me broadside. I only shoot my 2 front guns, and this is where the improved sigma comes in. You see, there's a lot of horizontal dispersion, but the vertical dispersion makes the shells land exactly where I want them, at his citadel. So out of the 4 shells, I get 2 citadels. I mean, that is highly valuable, because of course the most punishing time for a battleship is when you see a cruiser giving you full broadside. That's when you're able to punish them the heaviest. So the higher sigma you have, the more shells will land at that citadel, basically distance from you. That's a bit awkward, but you understand what I mean. So this ship is a sniper. Well, I don't want to call any battleship a sniper, because people tend to think, when I say sniper, instead of people going, wow, this ship is really accurate, they go, wow, I can sit at max range and shoot all day, which is of course something you shouldn't do, especially not in a German battleship, because once again, you have the turtle back, which means you are also very good at brawling. No, what I mean is that it's very accurate, and of course, the closer you get, the more accurate you are, and the more punishing you're able to be. And, well, you see, you are very strong against enemy cruisers. Like, especially at these tiers, tier 5, tier 6, when people tend to give you a lot of broadside, you are able to punish it harder than almost any other, well, I think harder than any other tier 5 battleship, easily. So this is definitely one of the bigger strengths of this ship. In fact, I've had consistently very good games in this ship. Well, I really had no real standout games, like no, wow, 200k damage, wow, this wrecked, but I really had no bad games at all. In fact, looking at my average damage on the ship, I averaged 100,000 damage on a tier 5 battleship. Now, usually I don't bother too much about stats, especially since this is like a seal clubbing stats, considering I'm much more experienced than the average tier 5 player, but it does speak very highly for the performance of the ship itself when you're able to get such a high average damage on only a tier 5 ship. It says that the ship has so much potential that if you know what you're doing in this ship, you will consistently grind out good results in it. And of course, this made moving on to the Bayern a very quick and easy process for me. Oh, a bit too high. I'm not sure if I hit too high. The Budione is a bit of an odd duck when it comes to cruisers. It's actually surprisingly hard to Citadel, not just because of its armor, but compared to the Kirov and the Shores, it's so much tankier and so much harder to just instantly delete. It's a bit weird because I honestly don't like the design too much, because first you have the Kirov, which teaches Russian cruiser players that if you give any sort of broadside, you instantly get deleted. And then you get the Budione, which lets you get away with a lot of silly things. And then you move on to the Shores, which once again is a paper ship that gets deleted from every single angle. So a bit awkward in that sense. The same thing kind of happens actually in the US line, where you have the Omaha, big floating citadel. Then you move on to the Cleveland, underwater citadel, quite hard to hit. And then after that you get the Pensacola, which is once again a floating citadel. So very awkward. Now you can take big hits in the König if you give broadside. Of course, yes, you cannot be Citadel, but not being Citadel doesn't mean you can't eat heavy damage. As you saw this Congo, and well, I'll show it on this Bayern as well. Just because you can, just because you're immune to Citadels doesn't mean you should be showing a bunch of broadside. I'm basically violating my own words right here, and well, that's because the game is pretty much over. We're capping their base right now, and these battleships are completely out of position. It's unlikely they will be able to stop it, so I'm not too bothered about taking a ton of damage, perhaps even sinking. Now, here we have a Bayern. Okay, I'm not going to be able to Citadel him, but not being able to Citadel him doesn't mean that I can't deal a ton of damage to him. And I mean, when you deal 12k damage, and the dude has 50k damage, you realize I'm chunking out a quarter of his HP. So it doesn't matter if I'm not able to Citadel him, especially with the fast reload of these guns. You gotta consider the König also has 26-second reload on the guns, so that combined with the great accuracy means it's just very, very strong as a... It's just a very strong battleship. Another 12k volley. It's down to half HP. That's how quickly it went. So, of course, the same thing can easily be done to yourself in the ship. So that's why you kind of want to avoid giving too much broadside. But the König is a very strong ship. It deals... This is a T5, T6 game, which is probably the one you will face the most. You tend to get up-tiered quite a lot at Tier 5. You might get lucky and face T4s, in which case you will just crush. You might end up facing T7s. It's not the end of the world, because this ship actually deals surprisingly well with higher tiers. Anyway, the game ends. Not really the most special of games, but I felt like this game showed off the accuracy quite well of the ship. It showed off just how devastating you can be if your aim is on point. I'm using that I got an achievement called Sharpshooter, but this is of course on the Russian server. Base XP, once again, not really the most special things, but it was tier 6 matchmaking, so it's of course always satisfying to top the boards. And looking at the game itself, it was only a 9-minute 30-second battle, but still, you can see the average damage per shell though. First of all, shells fired 134, 58 hits, so pretty much half my shells were hitting, not quite. And still the average damage per shell is very, very high. And this is a common theme with this ship. It's just a very powerful battleship. And if you struggle with this ship, probably the main reasoning is, one, you rely too much on your turtleback and you're giving too much broadside. As you saw on the Bayern, having turtleback doesn't mean you're immune to damage. It just means you're unlikely to get one shot. That's not the same as immune to damage. Second of all, your positioning is off, which means you're being HE spammed or torqued to death. Or 3, your aim is off, which means this ship highly rewards good aim. So if your aim is off, well, then you're gonna have a bad time with the ship. Well, any ship really, but this ship in particular favors good aim the most. Anyway, let's move on to my recommended build. Right, recommended build, or build path. Modules, get the hull upgrade first. It gives you so much. It gives you a massive amount of anti-air, it gives you health, it gives you maneuverability, it even affects your guns. After that, get the engine upgrade, significant amount of speed and maneuverability. Follow it up with your range upgrade, and then get the Sea Hull, which is just an AA upgrade. Consumable wise, premium repair followed by premium heal. I recommend them both, especially the repair. Main armaments mod 1, aiming systems mod 1, and damage control 1. Very simple. And we continue the path, build path we started with the NASA, of course, which is preventive maintenance, which we follow up with expert marksman, superintendent, and kind of saving up towards manual fire control. We'll see if I actually save up all the way to that. It's highly possible. Well, actually, you see, manual AA already benefits this ship with the Sea Hull. You can see, and it benefits the Bayern. You can see those big guns, how much damage. Manual AA, of course, doubles that damage. It benefits the Gneiser now. And the reason why I go for manual AA is such a good build path is basically this. You use it all the way to tier 10. It benefits the Bismarck, it benefits the Friedrich der Grosse. You can see the big guns, 128mm at the very Grosse Kurfürst. So this is a build path that works all the way to tier 10, which is why it's one I recommend. However, depending on how annoyed I get with the Bayern's lesser guns, I might go for Adrenaline Rush since I love it. Anyway, this was my König's guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it.